In this episode, dogs. The story of one of the 7 nomads' riches. There are a lot of legends and tales about dogs around the world. They were worshipped, awarded, people put monuments for them. A dog from ancient times was also a sacred animal for Kazakhs. It was even endowed with mystical abilities. No wonder it is on the list of the 7 riches of a nomad along with a horse and a golden eagle. However, not every dog is honored. Nomads revered only one breed, and they appreciated it so much so that its representatives could live in a yurt with people. Even when Islam came to the region, prohibiting keeping an animal in a house. Friend, protector, and the dog is the medium between man and the animal world. Original Kazakh dog breeds. There are no other written sources, no more ancient ones. There is only this one, and here it is already mentioned. The peculiarity of the ancient Kazakh hunting. The dog jumped in front of its owner between 2 humps and observed everything from a height, and then the owner would let it go on the hunt. It was a free hunt. What folk beliefs do Kazakhs have about dogs? How ancient dog breeder did the selection? How did it happen that one of the most ancient breeds of dogs almost disappeared from the face of the earth? Watch all this right now. A dog is a man's best friend. It is an immutable truth that everyone knows. However, there is no exact data when this animal has become our friend. Someone is sure that for the first time a dog was tamed in Asia. Others say that in the East. Still others believe that it was Europe. Modern researchers have not managed to establish the truth yet. My name is Andrei Slozhin. It is the Time Puzzle, and today we are going to learn the history of dogs that have served nomads for centuries. It is known for sure where a man domesticated a dog for the first time. However, historians believe that this happened in the era of the Upper Paleolithic about 12 to 40,000 years ago. Scientists are not sure about how this process took place. According to one version, a wolf or a jackal was tamed on its own. The animals began to approach the sites of the ancient man because of the remains of food. And as a result, people and animals eventually began to live together. According to another version, a person domesticated an animal. For this, he took wolf puppies, and they already grew up with people. In the future, such tame animals began to give offspring, and after a long time, a familiar dog appeared. We addressed the zoologist, dog expert Konstantin Plahov, to ask him some questions about the origin of the dogs. We have many questions. First of all, on domestication. It is very intertwined with when and where dogs were domesticated and with how they developed. Because these are ancient breeds, undoubtedly. We, for example, believe that the ancestor of dogs is a wolf. Curiously, the origin of the word dog also remains a mystery. Researchers have no single version yet. Some claim that it was transformed from the Scythian spaka. Others are confident that it was invented by the Persians, who called these animals saba. There are those who say that the ancient Slavs, noting the special devotion of these animals, called them from the side. That is, always near, on the side. In recent years, the version of the origin of dogs from wolves, too, has been questioned. But most scientists nevertheless believe that it is the gray predator that is the progenitor of the dog. Moreover, the process of domestication and transformation took place in different parts of the world from populations of local wolves of different species. But modern dog handlers divide all dogs to the 3 main types of breeds: stud, landrace, and primitive. Stud, these are most modern breeds which are created by the methods of modern breeding. They're usually like 150 years old. Everything else is a set. These are either aboriginal or primitive breeds which were created to a lesser extent by methods of modern selection and also by combinations of natural selection and artificial selection methods. In addition to the analysis of methods of selection, genetic analysis, and study of ancient manuscripts, there is another interesting way to study the origin and history of dogs. As is known, petroglyphs are one of the oldest forms of human creativity. There are at least 5 of the most famous images of dogs on stone. The most ancient are considered to be drawings made in the south of China in the mountains of Hua 16,000 years ago. These petroglyphs can be contested by images of dogs in the process of hunting, which were discovered on the territory of the Sahara Desert in the mountain range of Tadvart Akakus in the territory of modern Libya. These unique paintings are attributed by historians to the period of 12,000 years BC. A huge number of cave paintings are also found on the territory of Kazakhstan, where dogs are depicted. It was the petroglyphs that sold scientists which dog accompanied a nomad 1,000 years ago. Now we can use empirically the methods of archaeological excavations and the study of petroglyphs, which are conducted by scientists. Fortunately, the territory of Kazakhstan, especially southern Kazakhstan, is rich in petroglyphs, rock paintings. So the most ancient rock image was dated by our famous archaeologist and professor Medoyev. He attributed it to the 10th-12th millennia BC. This is the image where you can identify Tazi. A Jigit has 3 reasons to live: a resilient horse, a golden eagle, and hunting Tazi. This is what one of the Kazakh proverbs says, and as it turned out, since ancient times, these dogs accompanied people who lived on the territory of modern Kazakhstan. However, some archaeologists disagree with the dating of petroglyphs depicting dogs 10,000–12,000 years BC, and they say that the pictures are about 5,000 to 6,000 years younger. However, this is certainly an ancient history. Moreover, in addition to the Tazi, another type of dog was depicted on the rocks, Tobet. The hunter and local historian Asıl Khan, Arctic 5, told us about all this.
Если мы возьмем наскальные изображения в Евразии встречается.
If we talk about petroglyphs in Eurasia, there are 2 types of dogs, Tobet. In the rock paintings of the southern Urals, you will not find them in the northern Urals. Not far from Novosibirsk, Krasnoyarsk, there were rock paintings with Tobets.
Наскальные изображения изображает собак.
In the Central Asian area, on the cave paintings, you can see thin dogs with a rounded tail. Only Tazi have such tails. Petroglyphs say that it was in Central Asia that Tazi developed as a type of dog. However, many skeptics argue that such drawings cannot be regarded as 100% evidence that Tazi and Tobet appeared exactly on the territory of ancient Kazakhstan. They claim that it could be any dogs because at that time people depicted many things on the rocks. The process of hunting, people's meetings, mystical events, and much more that happened in society. Nevertheless, Konstantin Plakhov has been breeding Tazi for more than 20 years, and he's confident that the given image is most likely an ancient nomad dog, Tazi. Yes, the similarity of the exterior, the peculiarity of the petroglyphs is the fact that those who painted them in antiquity, many of them had a great artistic taste and accuracy in depicting of animals, details of animals. We can identify not only an animal, its species, but also a breed. Professor Marikovsky published an article on wild animals that have ever lived in Kazakhstan based on the study of petroglyphs. The fact that the dogs were depicted in cave paintings also says that these animals were not only assistants of people but also occupied a special sacred place in their lives. In Egypt, dead dogs were placed in tombstones with mournful inscriptions. In Persia, a man could even be executed for killing a dog. In the culture of many nations of the world, dogs were buried with their master, as it was believed that these were his only friends and helpers in the afterlife. The nomads also had a special relationship with dogs. Socioanthropologist Yafrat Imambek is quite sure about that.
Собака – это первое животное, которое было по природе.
The dog is the first animal that was tamed. The attitude to the dog is completely different than to all other animals, and the world of the nomad, the world of the breeder, is the world of animals.
Собака занимает особое место в пространстве. Кочевника вообще и у казахов особенно. Но
Indeed, the dog occupies a special place in nomad's life in general, and especially among the Kazakhs. But I will say right away, maybe it will seem a little unexpected, but the dog is the medium between man and the animal world. This attitude to the dog as to a mystical animal can be observed not only among the ancestors of the Kazakhs, it can be traced from almost all ancient peoples. For example, there are images of dogs in ancient Greek vases and frescoes. The ancient Persians believed that dogs possess mysterious force in the fight against the deities of darkness and evil spirits. One of the Egyptian gods, Anubis, had a head of a dog or a jackal and was the lord of the afterlife. In ancient Rome, the first rules of training and keeping dogs were developed. For example, the famous Roman scientist Mark Terentius Varro said that if a dog eats scrap, it cannot be trusted. And the Kazakhs believe that if a dog is happy with absolutely every inhabitant of the village, then it is useless and will easily betray you. There is no other animal except for a horse maybe that has so many sayings about it. I haven't counted, but I think it would be interesting enough for phraseologists to find out how many sayings are devoted to a horse and how many to a dog. It seems to me that dogs would win in the contest.
То, что собака – это сакральный медиум между двумя мирами, между верхним миром тоже.
Because they're always there, and the first saying confirming that a dog is a medium, a sacred medium between two worlds, between the upper world, the one who kicks the dog, kicks good luck, kicks happiness.
Приравнено к гостю. Говорят, еще одна поговорка есть. Сыпай метке деген кет, қонаққа деген.
Dogs are forbidden to beat. A dog is equated with a guest. Another saying is, a modest man, when he chases away a dog, he hints that the owner of the dog needs to leave. It's time to leave. A dog is the symbol of home, the symbol of a master. People say that a dog is eyes and ears of a hunter. A dog is the second self of the nomad. Well, let's not say such banal things. That a dog is one of the 7 treasures of the Kazakh, it is clear. Now we can buy any products in stores almost around the clock. Thousands of years ago, the only way to get meat was hunting. And Tazi was a loyal assistant to the hunter in this field because it has unique qualities. However, Tazi should not be just frisky, but differ in speed endurance. Not such endurance like a coursing dog, but the ability to maintain great speed over long distance. To be maneuverable, because there is a hare that it has to chase. A hare can turn at a negative angle. It doesn't care about the laws of physics. That is, it turns straight, then sharply turns back, and the dog should be able to do the same thing. The Kazakhs divided Tazi into 2 types, the so-called Jarda Kulak, bald ear, and Shasha Kulak, hairy ear, according to sleek and long-haired types. Sometimes they use the term Kumai Tazi, and some people confuse Kumai Tazi with the smooth-coated Tazi. In fact, this is just hybrid, very good at hunt Tazi dogs, which has always been in the minority. There was even a saying that Kumai Tazi is always alone on a pack of mongrels. The origin of the name Tazi also causes controversy among various researchers. It is often said that it comes from the Kazakh taza, clean. There is also an option that this is the Persian word which translates as rapid, clever. However, all these characteristics accurately describe the breed, and the most ancient mention of it dates from the middle of the 13th century. The word tazi appeared before 1245. That year, a Persian-Mongolian Turkmen phrasebook, a Turkic phrasebook, was written, in which the word tazi was mentioned. We have no other more ancient written sources. There is only this one, and this word is already mentioned there. Tazi were spread not only in Asia. According to one of our experts, there is an image of this dog in Bulgaria on the famous archaeological monument Madara Horseman, which dates back to 710 AD. And behind the rider, here on this wall, at a 300-meter height, we can clearly and definitely see Tazi with all its signs: lean, leggy, with a tail, with hanging ears. It looks very realistic and solid, with its specific details. This suggests that the Tazi, one of the oldest breeds, which was tamed by a man. In general, Tazi were quite widespread. They were tamed throughout the territory of modern Kazakhstan, in the southern parts of Russia, and in other regions. So those are Astrakhan, Orenburg, Saratov, Orelsk, Barnaul region, Altai territory, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and partly Tajikistan. Moreover, the name Tazi, it is quite common. It is also common for Iranian Persian dogs and for Afghanistan. And those words invented by Europeans like Saluki, Afghans, this is different. Locals call it Tazi, Tozi, Tazi. Saluki is a sacred hound for the Arabs as well as Tazi for the Kazakhs. Researchers speculate that the Saluki ancestors are from North Africa, 200 years ago. Zoologists were convinced that this breed was descended from the Egyptian hound, which exterior is so similar to the Saluki. To this day, there's a lot of controversy about who's older, Tazi or Saluki. Historian Asilhan Artikpaev came to following conclusion while studying this question. When the Arabs in the 7th century led the conquest campaigns on the territory of Kazakhstan, these dogs followed Arabs to the Arabian Peninsula, for which Arabs called them Saluki, Salyak. The correct Arabic Persian name is Salyaka. Salyaka means stray. Well, now think about it. What people who breed those dogs for a long time would call them stray? It doesn't make any sense. And only the Kazakhs call this breed Tazi, which means pure. When a new religion, Islam, came to the territory of Asia, it brought a number of rules written in the Quran about how to treat animals and keep them. When Islam's emissaries crossed the Sirdarya and began to convert our ancestors to Islam, when Muslim mullahs said that the dog should not be allowed into the house, that it was haram, there was a serious question whether to accept Islam or not, because if Tazi is not allowed into house during snowstorms, it will simply not survive. It would freeze because its hair is thin. Tazi played such an important role in the lives of people in those times that the problem turned out to be incredibly serious, and as Yevfrat Imambek tells, it was solved in a very unusual way. The mullahs argued that devout Muslims should not allow an animal into house, but then Kazakh women were outraged, who said that in this case they refused to accept Islam because it prohibits to let the Tazi into the house. Why? And how will our husbands get us fox fur, wolf fur, hare fur? What will we do if we are left without Tazi? And then the Kazakhs said to the Mufti, either you allow the Tazi to live in the house, or our wives are totally against it.
Либо наши жены категорически против. И тогда
And then the Mufti said, well, Tazi will not be considered a dog. Tazi is Tazi, and the dog is a dog. Here's the story. Coming up next, how people hunted with Tazi, and was the Tobet dog only a shepherd's dog?
Говоря об отношении кочевников к собакам, нельзя не упомянуть и еще об одном.
Speaking about the attitude of nomads to dogs, it is impossible not to mention another breed which representatives helped the ancient Kazakhs as much as the Tazi, wolf's bane, top dog, Tobet.
Собачьего племени. Табет.
Казахский тубет – это более распространенный.
Kazakh Tobet is a more stretched dog, lighter, more mobile. The conditions of existence are different. The coat is thick, long. Dogs weighing about 50 to 60 kilograms are males, females are lighter. Shoulder height is up to about 78 to 80 centimeters.
Тибета первую изображали во время каннибал, поход против Римской империи. А он же...
The first images of the Tobets are found during the campaigns of Hannibal against the Roman Empire, and this is the Mediterranean region. Also, there are images of Cerberus, but they're more like mastiffs than our Tobet.
А вот тибеты изображения идут у нас по бассейну Иртыша, где она вливает.
But the images of the Tobets are found near the Irtysh River, where it flows into the Ob. Of course, these are all petroglyphs, and according to the legends, Tobet and Tazi are purely Central Asian, purely Eurasian dog breeds derived by the cultural method in Eurasia. There are lots of examples in our history when dogs went to the battlefields with people. Large dogs were used in the battles by the ancient Assyrians. The Greeks, who received new four-legged friends as a trophy after the victory over Xerxes, also began to use fighting dogs. Tobet also participated in hostilities, but still its main functions were different.
Тибет как формировался как сторожевая собака, как военная собака. Военных походов охраняла военные лагеря.
Tobet was formed as a guard dog, as a military dog. It guarded military camps during military campaigns. The same Hannibal used dogs during all his military campaigns. The guard dogs were trained not to attack people, to attack cattle, not to scare off fighting horses. They were sharpened purely for security functions.
На сегодняшний день Тибет чистый Тибет на домашних.
Today, Tobet, clean Tobet, do not attack livestock. During the day, it doesn't attack anyone. And when the owner of the house is not there, the Tobets, they mentally outline the territory. Some dogs 300 meters in diameter, others 500 meters. If you cross this mental circle, which the dog has under its protection, they would attack you. And they are quite strong, and they can pull a rider off a horse.
Всадника дергает с лошади.
Large dogs with a short, formidable muzzle and a frightening look belong to the Molossian group. It is believed that their homeland is Molossia, the region around modern Greece. This form of the breed was formed from the aboriginal dogs of ancient Mesopotamia and Persia. The main goal of such dogs was, of course, the protection of livestock and human dwellings. But there is another version of origin. Some historians are inclined to believe that the progenitor of this group of dogs should be considered Tibetan Mastiff. The only thing in which the opinion of researchers are similar are in the purpose of these dogs.
Потребность в этой породе возникла тогда, когда человек домашний.
The need for this breed arose when people started to domesticate small cattle, especially sheep. Then it became a big problem to keep this livestock from wolves. Wolves have always been a disaster in a vast area specifically for small cattle, and it turned out that only a man can guard them 24 hours a day. However, the version of the origin of the Tobets from Tibetan Mastiff is destroyed by archaeological finds that were made in the territory of ancient Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan.
Центром домашних вид считается загроз.
The center of domestication of sheep is Zagros. It is a region of Iran to southern Turkey. Together with the Aryans, sheep passed, including through the territory of Turkmenistan, through the territory of Kazakhstan, and right to India. And many people truly believe that these dogs are descended from the Tibetan Mastiff. And the mention of the Tibetan Mastiff belongs to the Chinese chronicles of 1200 BC, where it was said that the Chinese were presented with such dogs. But if we study the finds on the territory of Turkmenistan, we will see that terracotta figurines with similar images of shepherd dogs with a cropped tail and cropped ears relate to about 3rd to 4th millenniums BC. There are several versions of why such ears and tails of these dogs were cut off. The first, hygiene, a simple way to protect the dog from ticks. The second is to prevent injury when meeting a wolf. The task of the sheepdogs is to keep the flock from wolves. It doesn't matter at what cost, in what way, flock must survive. Therefore, they should distribute roles among themselves. They should not let wolves to the flock. They should not be distracted by individual predators catching up with them, because during this time, other predators can attack the flock. The nomads of the past did not have the task of raising a wolf killer. There was no goal for a dog to rush indiscriminately into battle with a predator. Tobed should have been smart, reasonable, and calm. Moreover, according to the breeders themselves, even such a large dog as Tobed cannot always withstand a wolf. The fight with the wolf is a quick fight. If you compare the wolf, roughly speaking, is a professional commando, but these big dogs, like Tobed, can be compared with the Greco-Roman wrestlers. It has no chance against the one who went out to kill. Nobody tried to arrange fights with wolves personally. The task of herding dogs is not to fight as many wolves as possible. And all these storytellers, like Boris Rabinin, who said that supposedly in the Caucasus there was a dog of the Caucasian shepherd which crushed more than 100 wolves for its life. Did wolves have to march towards the dog? No, it does not happen like this. They have a definite plan of action in the attack on the flock. Young cubs are coming out, young ones, so they are already 6, 7, 8, 9 months old. They yawl and wolf, and if the dog is stupid, it will run after the wolf cubs. Maybe even want to play with them, but it is only to the nearest hillock. And there, usually, the dog was met by an adult wolf, who cracked down on a stupid animal, freeing their way to the flock. But the Tobeds were valued by people for that they were incredibly clever and did not succumb to such tricks of the predators. Nevertheless, the attitude toward these dogs was far from being so reverent as to Tazi. Tobed, unlike Tazi, of course, does not have such a sacred meaning. Tobed is a working dog. This is a dog. It is a symbol of power, strength, loyalty, and rationality. Tobed is a helper who grazes cattle. It knows how to shepherd the flock, how to wrangle. Why is it called Tobed? Because it is like a senior. Tobed takes the highest place on the toby, on the top, and inspects, watches for the wolves. Tobeds are distinguished not only by their intelligence, but also by their calm, docile temperament. It is because of these qualities that they were used during the Great Patriotic War in a special way. Very obedient dog. These Tobeds were used mainly as sanitary dogs and not mine seekers. All other dogs were used for demining, and the Tobed was used as a sanitary dog. These were powerful, large dogs that could pull sledges with wounded soldiers. They were used like that before the war. Young Tobeds had to be trained, and for use in everyday life and for use in wartime. Puppies also were taken to hunt. The adult Tobed remained mostly in the village, and the young were trained on the hunt.
А молодняк дрессировали вот таким образом.
Tobits were taught not only to protect man and herd, but also hunting skills in general. In the world, there are many types of the dog hunts. The Russian greyhounds for wolves, the so-called parforce hunting with hounds in England, African hunting. The nomads also had their own special hunting and traditions associated with it.
Концунары использовались собаки, в основном людей.
Seri also had their dogs. How can I explain the word Seri in Russian? These are people who led an idle life. Good dombra, good chapan, good silver saddle, good beautiful horse, good jorga. Kazakhs have always given jorga to this Sal Seri. On the occasion of Baiga, they also had good race horses. It was not commercial hunting, it was a holiday. As they would say now, the opening of the hunting season. It was there that the owners of the dogs could boast of their dogs to fellow villagers or visiting guests. Seri, in this case, acted as the organizer of this mass event. Kazakh hunting with pots and tobet never done without doubles, drums. They were usually about 30 centimeters in diameter. They were also called kaushi. We do not use this word now, but in any canine hunt where Salseri participated and Salseri always staged a theatrical performance, there were always drums. There was a man who ran dogs, beaters, tobets. He had a drum. He beat the drum if, for example, a hare that was being hunted for was clogged up in the bushes where hunting dogs could not reach it. In addition to Tazi, tobets also participated in this hunt. They were assigned a special role. They were beaters, but directly in the process of hunting, so as not to damage the skin, people used Tazi. Good trained Tazi were very dexterous. For one hunt, the dog could catch 5-6 foxes, hares, and not damage the skin of any animal. Speaking about the hunting capabilities of dogs, it should be noted that the Tazi keep the first place among greyhounds in their skills.
В природе существует два вида бега. Быстрый, но не долго.
In nature, there are two types of running: fast but not long, long but not fast. One example is a cheetah. Another example is, let's say, a wolf. In most greyhounds in the world, they run like that. So in the case of Tazi, our research has shown that indeed Tazi runs long and fast. On the territory of Kazakhstan, landscapes are represented mainly by plains. And the beast is usually seen from afar, and this requires a lengthy catch-up until the dog gets the beast. And if it would run slowly, it would simply miss the beast. The maximum speed that I was able to measure by the speedometer of the car is 80 kilometers per hour. Tazi are distinguished not only by their unique speed. This dog, as it turned out, is almost a universal hunter. The measure for any greyhound is a hare, measure of agility, measure of maneuverability. Another thing is that any terrain is different, even within Kazakhstan, in terms of hunting fauna. Suppose there is a gazelle in the sands, there are no gazelles on the plain. On the plain, there is a saiga. In one area, they prefer to hunt a badger and a fox, and in another, they prefer to hunt a hare, and so on. Therefore, here, in fact, Tazi allow you to hunt for a set of game that is in the area. We have observed that, if possible, it also catches pheasants if they slow down with takeoff. There were situations when they caught quails and pigeons. There are roe deer. We hunt roe deer. They will hunt roe deer. There is a woodchuck. They will hunt for a woodchuck. Anything the owner needs at this time. Usually Tazi ran in front of the hunters, climbing on the hills and looking for game, but when the landscape was flat, the ancient hunters used a curious device to help the dog find prey.
В степи не везде пригорки есть. Есть ровные.
In the steppes, there are no hillocks. Everywhere there are flat places. Then Tazi were placed on a horse's croup. They had a special device behind the saddle, a small platform. Tazi jumped on this platform and rode behind its master's back. They hunted both from the horse's croup and camel. The owner of the Tazi, if he was hunting on a camel, he simply called the dog, and the dog jumped in front of the owner between two humps and examined the area from a height, and then the owner let it go hunting. It was a free hunt. Also, the Kazakhs were hunting with cheetahs. Another quality that distinguishes Tazi among greyhounds is its ability to interact with other partners in the hunt.
Очень пластичная порода, она подстраивается под любую породу.
Very fluent breed. It adapts to any breed and any type of hunting. It can work with falcon and with the golden eagle and with the hawk and with dogs of other breeds, for example, with burros, with Lycas. Moreover, the Tazi are very intelligent dogs. I said that their intelligence is much higher than average, and they very quickly understand the possibilities of a partner, what to expect from the partner. Accordingly, they adapt, and for example, when hunting with a golden eagle, they can act as a beater, drive out prey from the bushes, and the eagle already takes it, or it can get what the eagle missed. In 1939, the book by the Russian zoologist Arkady Slutsky, The Asian Greyhound Tazi and the Hunt with It, was published, in which the author cited a table of the so-called efficiency of hunting dogs. There he indicated that the Tazi could get up to 500 birds and 50 foxes in one hunting season.
Сейчас многие пытаются подменить, так сказать, классическую охоту.
Now, many are trying to replace, so to speak, the classic hunt with Tazi to the hunt for a wolf. But Tazi do not know how to hunt in that way. They play the role of beaters, and wolf stops before the master arrived. And for example, the Russian greyhound hunting style, it is not similar to Tazi. Greyhounds usually catch the prey, grab by the throat, overturn it, and hold it until the owner approaches, until the dog is removed from the prey. And Tazi don't hunt like this. On the occasion of the capture of the first prey, a small celebration was organized, to which all the inhabitants of the village gathered and congratulated the owners. Other hunters were also present, witnesses of the baptism of fire of Tazi. Such toy was accompanied by songs, cues, and lasted until the very morning. Kazakhs highly appreciated their dogs. Legends have been written about them. Sayings have been made up about them. Not every dog is Tazi, not every meat is Kazi. These are the sayings that reflect this. However, in the 20th century, the Tazi almost disappeared. The breed was literally on the verge of extinction, and only thanks to enthusiasts, now we can talk about its recovery. In 1981, a form letter was received from Moscow to present Tazi at an international exhibition to begin the procedure of international registration of the breed. Kazakhstan refused this honor. Because we did not have Tazi with 4 pedigrees, we had nothing to present there. By the 90s of the last century, the situation was worsened even more. It was necessary to save the breed. We began to breed Tazi in 1991. By that time in Kazakhstan, there was not a single Tazi with a 4 pedigree. As it should be, a breeding book was not created, despite the fact that there was an organization that was responsible, which held meetings from time to time, said that it was necessary to work with Tazi, it was necessary to develop the breed. Thanks to the joint efforts of the state and private breeders, the breed began to recover. And in 2000, Kaz-Ahot Ribolov Soyuz for the first time approved the standards of Tazi and Tobet developed in Kazakhstan. Now dog handlers continue to maintain the purity of the Tazi, struggling with unscrupulous vendors who give out hybrids for purebred dogs. However, we can't hope for the international recognition of Tazi as a separate breed. Not yet. It is too difficult. This process takes a long time, but this does not affect the relationship between dogs and their owners. Tazi, like thousands of years ago, continues to be the best friend and assistant to the hunter, one of the 7 treasures of the Kazakh people. Undoubtedly, Tazi is the pride of Kazakhstan and to some extent its symbol, which we almost lost. Now the main thing is to return the breed to its former greatness. My name is Andrei Slozhin. It was The Time Puzzle. See you.